A cop can pull someone over for a variety of reasons. Maybe they were speeding, maybe their taillights were out, or perhaps they were driving a little erratically. Whatever the reason, the officer walking up to the car probably isn't expecting something sinister going on inside of it. The 4 traffic stops we're about to show you are not these simple cases. These are 4 recorded instances of discovering the passenger seat is occupied by someone who's been kidnapped, taken against their will, and forced into extremely uncomfortable situations. Our first case is from January 30th, 2017. It begins with dashcam footage of a vehicle being pulled over. Then police have the driver exit and move away from the vehicle. Every officer visible is heavily armed.
Hey, be Hill, get on your PA! Be Hill, get on your PA! Call him up!
Even before the driver exits the vehicle, one of the officers can be heard saying there's a passenger multiple times.
There's a passenger! There is a passenger!
The dashcam continues for several minutes as the passenger exits the vehicle and is then patted down for weapons or dangerous objects.
Hands up! Hands up, passenger! Get on the ground, passenger! All the way! Yeah, I got passenger.
The passenger is a person with long hair and a hoodie, though it's not clear if it's a man or a woman at this point in the footage.
Watch it, there's movement! Don't move, don't you move! Stay down! Yep, sir.
After 3.5 minutes, the footage changes perspective to a chest cam, which gives us a better look at the driver as he backs away from the car. It's a male suspect wearing suspenders and a t-shirt, but curiously, he's barefoot. The image is obscured by the officer's rifle for a short period of time, but then another officer walks up to the suspect with a spine-tingling question. Where's the key at? To the chains?
Where's the key at? In the ignition. To the chains.
Just over 4 minutes into the footage, you can tell that this is no ordinary traffic stop. The driver is then seen being placed in the back of the police vehicle as we can see the passenger being patted down from another angle before they are also put in the back seat. It appears as if they're also not wearing shoes. The footage continues from the same perspective as the officer jogs up to the car that was pulled over. As he gets closer, another cop can be heard saying, "Get a camera on this thing."
Yeah. Put a camera on this thing.
What happens next will shock you to your core. A woman, shaking and frantically crying. Prior to the officer asking about the key to the chains, she was chained down by her neck where she now sits.
Do you need me to say anything about what happened or anything?
Don't worry about it. Just hold on for now, okay? Just hold on, okay? I want to take some pictures. We have the evidence. She's tight, chained down by the neck. Okay, go ahead.
She's unable to catch her breath, almost hyperventilating as she sobs. Her face is obscured for her protection, but even the censored image is heartbreaking all the same. As the officer moves away from the car, she says, "Please lock them up."
Okay, let's back them up. Let's go inside. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, do it.
The officers around the vehicle listen to the woman as she talks to them, though exactly what she's saying is difficult to decipher. Shortly after, another officer undoes the set of chains, which you can hear being removed from their routing.
Come on, okay. Go ahead. Come this way. Come, hold on. Hold on. There. Okay. Got another hand, okay? Got it? Just hold on. Hold on, we got you. Yeah, you check him, no?
He had me earlier and I got him to take him off.
The woman then exits the vehicle as she continues to hyperventilate and cry. She says to her saviors, "Oh my God, how did you find me?"
Oh my God, how did you find me?
As the police continue to undo the chains all over her body, she says they choked me out like 6 times. Even now that she's safe, the woman is clearly traumatized from her experience.
He choked me out like 6 times.
I don't got a key for this one, guys. Sarge, I don't got a key for the neck one. Okay. Here it is. Okay, hold on, give me time.
Once she's freed from all her chains, she begins to tell the officers what really happened to her.
I was in Las Vegas. He broke into my Las Vegas apartment and stole me from my home.
Las Vegas, Mexico?
Nevada.
Nevada?
He fucking hauled ass.
Do you know the guy?
Yeah, he's my ex-boyfriend. How did you know?
They called us and told us.
Who did?
I was up at the office trying to run him, see if we had anything on him.
Oh my God.
The woman was apparently ripped from her very own home by someone she once trusted. The perpetrator of this heinous crime is none other than her own ex-boyfriend who ripped her from her house, threw her in the back of his car, and chained her up. This woman is living a horror story.
He dragged me out of the place and I so hard because I was like, this is how you die. And I think a neighbor saw me getting dragged out.
The woman, who reveals her name is Jane, is then taken to an ambulance where her treatment and healing can begin.
Oh my God.
Step up, okay? Put your hand.
let you guys do your thing.
The footage then cuts to the perspective of the back seat of the vehicle from the beginning, where we see the driver, Jane's ex-boyfriend. The audio is garbled and low quality, but you can see in this man's face that something isn't quite right. When he looks into the camera, it's like he's seeing into your very soul. After several minutes of complete silence, the perpetrator begins to sing a song under his breath and then asks a pretty strange question.
Got a favorite hymn?
What's that?
You got a favorite hymn?
A person who just committed an act of pure evil and malice asking about hymns is more than a little unsettling, but the worst is yet to come. He sings the entirety of Amazing Grace, give or take a verse. You can almost feel the cop's discomfort as the singing goes on and on for minutes. The man announces that he's a Christian man and asks if it would be possible to get his Bible and hymnal from his truck. It seems he's more concerned about these books than he was for the well-being of his ex-girlfriend.
Are you a Christian man?
Yeah, I am. You?
I am. In my van, there's a Bible, a Nelson Bible, and a Baptist hymnal. Are there any chances I could get those?
I'm pretty sure. Your vehicle's gonna be right up the road anyway, so.
He then exits the vehicle, but not before making a comment.
Want to pull down? No, girls.
Wear shoes next time.
One would hope that there isn't a next time. The footage then cuts to the backseat of a different vehicle. This one contains the passenger from the kidnapping vehicle as they're being transported to the police station.
I thought you were handing me the hat.
What's that?
I thought you were handing me the hat.
Oh, okay. Cold back there?
It is kinda.
Alright, just turn on the
The accomplice makes several unsuccessful attempts to speak with the officer driving the car and spends most of the drive sitting in silence before exiting the vehicle at the station.
Can you help me out?
Hold on.
Well, I don't think I need the help.
This is where the footage ends. Later, it was revealed that the goal of the kidnapping was to take Jane to a cave, brainwash her, and force her to marry either Jack Morgan, the ex-boyfriend, or Sophie Brown, Jack's new lover. Both Jack and Sophie were charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. January 14th, 2023. The Columbia County Sheriff's Office in Wisconsin began receiving frantic 911 calls around 3 a.m. The calls described an extremely unusual, extremely unfortunate event. A woman's car was stolen, with her still inside of it.
Shaw County has the female on the phone now. They are going westbound.
10-4. Did she see anything?
The unidentified woman was taking a nap in the back seat of her car while her husband went inside the Love's truck stop they were parked at. She woke up into a nightmare as her car was being driven erratically at high speeds by a complete stranger. The footage of the incident begins with dashcam footage from the police pursuit vehicle. Radio chatter as the officer communicated back and forth with the station can be heard behind the roar of the engine as the vehicle picks up speed.
33, just passing SUV at 188 County Road, J.
The officer states he's going over 90 miles per hour, yet is still not catching up to the suspect. He requests spike strips to slow the vehicle down.
Try and get some statements this way too, please.
33, if somebody can get spikes at 188 and 60.
After several minutes of pursuit, the officer finally catches up to the kidnapper. He continues to communicate the situation with the station as the other vehicle approaches the spike trap that's been requested.
33, looks like negative spikes. We're going to be heading eastbound State Highway 60. Intersection of Pulvermacher, Highway 60, no traffic, roads are clear.
Unfortunately, the clearly intoxicated driver seems to avoid the trap and the pursuit continues. The officer calls out that he's now traveling in excess of 100 miles per hour, and the kidnapper is still outrunning him.
33, we're 100 miles an hour, westbound 60, approaching Pulvermacher.
But then there's a glimmer of hope.
33, just lost a tire. Vehicle appears to be spiked, still going. On the rims, looks like we're going to be coming to a stop. Barda and 60, suspect still going.
The spike trap had actually been effective despite not looking that way initially. The vehicle loses a tire and decreases in speed exponentially, allowing the officer to keep pace with it. The offending vehicle keeps on going as a second tire flies off. He's driving into the oncoming traffic lane.
We're coming around the big S curves, still approaching Bar Road. Looks like suspect's losing a second tire now. 3333, suspect is in oncoming lane of traffic, westbound, oncoming lane of traffic, eastbound.
The footage then cuts to a different officer who's setting up another spike trap farther down the road. This trap also appears to miss, but the officer setting up the trap confirms that they worked. The high-speed pursuit continues as several other police vehicles join the chase. The kidnapper refuses to stop, despite going off the road at least once before regaining control of the car. Tireless wheels don't tend to be very easy to maneuver, and the car only has a single complete wheel at this point.
3333 approaching the four corners. Appears all four tires are deflated. We're at load ice shell.
At some time, the pursuing police decide it's time to stop the chase once and for all. Since the suspect refuses to stop or pull over, they have to stop him by force. The footage perfectly captures the moment that the lead police vehicle rams the rear passenger side of the vehicle, causing the kidnapper's car to fishtail, skid off the road, and slam into a barrier before police cars move in to pin it down.
3333, I copy. Successful then.
3333, I've pinned him with my squad.
The collision and subsequent slam were violent enough to activate the car's airbags, which obscured the officer's view of the inside of the vehicle. They proceed with caution to extract the kidnapper and make sure the woman's okay.
3331 at gunpoint. Have EMS on standby. Full airbag deployment.
I'm gonna come around this side and we're gonna open that door. I have a canine, you will get bit. Keep your hands up.
Hands are up. I can see hands up.
Passenger side, come around and get this.
Where's the female at?
Hands are up.
Back passenger door.
The footage perspective changes several times, but it's clear that a canine unit is on the scene to deter any kind of escape attempt by the kidnapper. The suspect is told to remain still as the airbags are cut away and removed.
Slow down, get her out. Keep your hands there, do not move. Do not move.
The scene is tense as the canine barks at the kidnapper, the police yell orders, and the suspect himself is shouting that he doesn't have any weapons. Eventually, the kidnapper manages to exit the vehicle before being tackled to the ground by an overzealous officer.
Put your hands behind your head. Put your hands behind your head. Josh, it's okay.
We got it. I'm not taking no chances here. It hasn't been searched.
I'm not doing anything.
Even the other police officers have to calm this particular cop down, who says, "I'm not taking any chances." The kidnapper is placed in handcuffs and police return to the vehicle to check it for any kind of evidence, but not before the footage cuts back to the canine's handler, who commends it for doing a good job.
Oh boy, you talk to him. Oh boy.
What a good boy indeed. With that, the kidnapped woman's worst nightmare is over, and the police approach her to see if she'd like any medical attention. She declines, but she's definitely shaken up by the entire ordeal, and who wouldn't be?
Thank you so much.
Do you want EMS to check out?
No, I'm fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yes, I just scared because he was driving like crazy.
Yes.
And I couldn't talk with him. He didn't want to stop. I don't know if he's crazy or what happened with him.
Okay. You're okay?
I am.
Are you sure?
Definitely.
Okay.
I'm just scared.
I'll be back to talk to you in a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
My name is Sergeant Stage. You can just call me Ron, okay?
Okay.
Once the dust settled, the police learned that the kidnapper's name was Kyle M. Wagner, a 51-year-old male from New York. It was later revealed that he had used fentanyl and meth within 24 hours of the kidnapping, evidence of which was found in his own vehicle after it was searched. Kyle was charged with felony eluding, false imprisonment, operating a motor vehicle without consent, reckless driving and endangerment, operating a vehicle while intoxicated, possession of meth, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possibly others. July 5th, 2022. A pickup truck is pulled over for a suspected DUI around 1 a.m. after swerving and driving erratically in Albuquerque, New Mexico. When an officer approaches the driver's side window, he's greeted by Jeremy Guthrie, a 41-year-old man who does in fact seem a little intoxicated. But that's not the worst part.
You have a bunch of kids in the car. How many kids? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who are these kids to you?
This is my friend.
That's your friend?
In the car with Guthrie were 6 underage teens, a mix of boys and girls. Guthrie drunkenly acknowledges that these passengers are his friends. If your stomach is beginning to turn, your worst fears are about to be confirmed. Chest cam footage of the incident shows the interaction police have with Guthrie after they pull him over, which doesn't get off to a good start.
Hey there.
Hello.
How are you?
All right.
Just all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Should driver license?
Yeah.
When asked for his identification, Guthrie begins sifting through trash in his car. This goes on for a while until the officer points out the things he's looking for is in his lap.
There's your wallet right there between your legs.
Sorry, just a little bit nervous.
Guthrie's movements don't appear to be those of a sober person, and the involvement of alcohol is looking more certain all the time. The officer explains why he pulled Guthrie over and what drew suspicion to him. He thought he was going to crash.
Huh?
That's it. You mentioned that you were nervous? Right. I was nervous while I was behind you driving down I-40. You were in lane number 1. At times, you went all the way from lane number 1 all the way over. Didn't use a signal, had problems keeping your vehicle one lane. And then, when you merge on from westbound 40 to northbound 25, you took that curve way too fast.
I did. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to crash.
No, I don't.
I didn't say. I don't think so. I'm just saying I thought you were going to crash.
This is when the officer brings attention to the children in the car. Guthrie claims the girl in the passenger seat, clearly a minor, was 18. Things do not go well from here.
Yeah.
How old's your friend?
18.
That girl's not 18?
Huh?
That girl's not 18?
Yeah.
No, she's not.
No, I don't think she is.
That girl's not 18. Trust me. She don't look 18.
The officer then asks the girl directly how old she is, but she refuses to answer.
Ma'am, how old are you? I didn't ask you your name. I asked you how old you were.
This is when Guthrie is asked to get out of the vehicle, and another stomach-turning development shows itself.
Come on out.
Not only are Guthrie's pants undone, he has buttons instead of a zipper to secure the flap of his pants. If that doesn't scream I'm a psycho, then I don't know what does.
Why's your zipper, your buttons down on your crotch?
Well, I probably just forgot.
Okay.
First, Guthrie explains his indecency by saying he just forgot after he relieved himself, but he's so drunk that you can almost see the gears failing to turn his head to produce more words. Now the officer begins to question Guthrie about his drinking that night. He at first states that he hadn't had anything to drink, but then says he'd had a few drinks several hours before. The officer picks up on this narrative weakness immediately.
When did you last drink?
Like, probably, it's been a little while.
Like an hour?
I would say it's more than yeah.
Like maybe 2?
Yeah.
Roughly? Okay.
Like 2 hours.
That's fair. Because you know what? 2 hours is totally different than, no, I haven't been drinking. You know what I mean?
Guthrie can't keep up with the cop's line of questioning. The officer then asks again about the children in the car, and Guthrie seems reluctant to answer. He states again that they're his friends and admits that he himself is 41. The officer gives up on questioning Guthrie and moves to question the passengers. At first, the teens are combative and not willing to answer the cop's questions. It doesn't take long for him to convince them to come clean, though, and they reveal that they're all either 13 or 14 years old.
Okay, how old are you? 14. Thank you. Simple question.
14.
Really 14?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
14.
Okay. 13. Okay. 13. Okay. 14. Okay. Who's this guy to anybody?
That's our homies. And then she knows his kid.
Okay. So, that there's your homie? Okay, so you guys all need to call your parents.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And have your parents meet us here.
This is well below legal age, and definitely too young to be hanging out with a 41-year-old man they don't know that well. The officer then has the teens call their parents to pick them up, and he even speaks to a few of them to get them up to speed on the situation.
This is Sergeant LaFay with State Police, and your son, along with I'm guessing five of his other buddies, they were in a vehicle with somebody who some man, it's a grown adult, who has no business driving. And so he's out now doing field sobriety tests, and these kids need to be picked up.
As the officer speaks to the teens and their parents, another officer conducts sobriety tests on Guthrie, who's just as drunken and confused as ever.
So, just to make sure that you're okay to drive, okay, would you mind doing a couple of field sobriety tests just to make sure?
Yeah.
Yeah? You would mind, or you would want to do them?
What's it?
He initially doesn't want to do the tests, more likely because he knows he's going to fail them. However, after being informed he'll be placed under arrest if he declines the test, he decides to take his chances.
Are you going to stop the test then?
I can still test.
After bumbling through the final test, the officers place Guthrie under arrest and load him into the back of their vehicle. Before the footage ends, Guthrie is confused one more time. This time by his Miranda rights.
Do you understand each of these rights as I've explained to you?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Yes or no?
Okay.
Yes or no?
No.
Jeremy Guthrie was charged with driving under the influence and 6 counts of child abuse. Later, the case expanded to include charges of sexual assault against a minor after it was revealed that he'd had a relationship with one of the 13-year-olds in his car from when she was 12, and he'd even gotten her pregnant. That pregnancy resulted in a miscarriage. Guthrie continued to communicate with the girl behind bars using a guard's cell phone. July 16, 2023. Police in Fayetteville, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, received a report of a kidnapping in progress around 11 p.m. Police couldn't have known at this point how tragic this kidnapping would become just a few hours later. 20-year-old Cameron Hopkins showed up at a Wingstop restaurant late that evening as his ex-girlfriend, Kalia Jones, was working her shift. A couple of patrons from the restaurant that night were questioned to see what they observed.
What happened is, when we came in, I don't even recall whether he was already here or he came in after we were here. He proceeded to go in the back, accosted her back toward the rear of the store, grabbed her by the arm, and walked her out of here with a weapon.
Apparently, when Hopkins entered the restaurant as a typical customer until he grew impatient, went to the back of the restaurant and forced Jones out of the building and into his car at gunpoint using some type of handgun. Chest cam footage shows officers inside their pursuit vehicle as they chase Hopkins down at speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour. You can't see much from the perspective of this particular chest cam, but you can see trees and streetlights whipping past the windshield as the driver does everything he can to catch up to Hopkins.
Over 100, about 105. McDonough Road coming up on Folsom Road. He's blacking out.
The pursuit continues in dangerous conditions as unknowing citizens go about their evenings in oncoming traffic. The chase carries over from Fayette County into Clayton County as Hopkins tries to evade police. Dashcam footage shows the moment police decide to end the chase by ramming the kidnapper's car as it turns into Lovejoy High School. Then, terror strikes.
Hang on, Lovejoy High School. Radio, shots fired, shots fired. Hey, I'm behind you, I'm behind you. I don't know. Look right here, they're still in the vehicle with shots being fired. Units advised, Clayton.
Police hear gunshots from the kidnapper's vehicle as they exit their own, and the danger of the situation escalates exponentially. The officers take cover behind their car with their guns drawn as they wait for orders. The footage provided doesn't show what happens next, but reports say that Cameron opened fire on police from inside his car before he turned the gun on Kalia Jones and shot her several times. Police then fired chemical irritants into his car, which convinced Hopkins to surrender.
He's coming out. No, I got this out. He's coming out. Down him right there by the car. The passenger door. Climb out. Yeah, he's gonna climb out. Yeah, make him climb out.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Just come out of the car for us. Hey, get on the ground. Get on the ground, man. Keep your hands right there.
On the ground.
Unfortunately, it's clear to the officers, even from their vantage point, that Kalia Jones wasn't able to survive her wounds. Later in the footage, Hopkins can be heard crying and asking for Jones as police pour water in his eyes to soothe them from the chemicals they used.
Okay, so no, because the gun went off on her. Okay, okay.
All right, we're not arguing with you, dude.
All right, we're
Stick
gonna
your head out.
Stick your head out. We're gonna dump this on you so you can get some of that OC out of your eye.
Turn your head the other way.
Where is she?
Yes or no? Do you want more water?
Can I use more?
Apparently, Hopkins told police that she had the gun and she shot herself, but they don't believe that to be true. One cop said, "I think he's full of shit."
I think he's full of. He said she had the gun and she shot herself.
No, it was him. I could clean as day. He was coming around with, and that's why I bailed.
I'm just saying that's what. Well, I know. That's when you jumped out, and I jumped out. I heard the shot, so I was like.
Gammon Hopkins is facing charges of kidnapping and aggravated assault in Fayette County and murder as well as possession of a weapon in Clayton County.